Hi guys, welcome to this second part of the paint flow for the Imperial Fist. Um, Last time, the last thing we did was paint on the metallics, the base of the metallics. So this time I'll start off with painting the casing for the bolter. I'm going to paint it gray. I'm also going to do one of the pouches on its back gray. I'm going to use barley gray from the Vallejo Model Air series. It's a pretty light gray, um, but we'll be washing it later on. I try to be careful and not paint over the metallic parts. As you can see, it's easier if you turn the model around instead of trying to get into all sort of weird angles to paint your figure. So now I'll paint in, block in one of the pouches. I'm going to make the bigger one gray. That's done. Next up, I'm going to take Chart Brown from Vallejo Game Color range, and I'll paint in the parts that are going to be leather later on. This paint's a bit thicker, so I'll thin it down with a little bit of water. And a little bit of water in my brush. Now it's a bit thinner, so it applies easier and smoother. I noticed I missed the top of the other pouch, the gray one, so I'll block that in as well now. With thin paints, they don't always cover in one go, so I'll apply a second coat to the parts where the yellow is still coming through. So now we've blocked in all the main colors on the model. I'm going to. Oh, I now see I missed a little part of the metallic, so I'll do that in a second. And after that, I'll start edge highlighting the yellow. I painted all these colors in before I started edge highlighting, because if I accidentally, oh, for example, if I accidentally just go outside of the metallic parts a bit, it gives me a chance to cover it up with an edge highlight. And this is the same metallic black as I used in the previous session. So I'm now going to mix up the color for the edge highlight. I'm going to take the scrofulous brown again, And I'm going to add in some dead white. To make the paint thin and make it a bit more resilient to drying fast, I add in a bit of glaze medium. A couple of drops should be sufficient. So I made a mixture of 2 to 1, 2 parts scrofulous brown and 1 part dead white. Well, I used 4/2, but I think it's not light enough yet, so I'm going to add a bit more white to the mixture. I'm also adding a bit of water. It still looks a bit dark, but I'm going to give it a try. I'll start off with the back right here. I'll zoom the camera a bit in. And I hope you can see it good enough. I'm sorry, I went out of frame. To see if a highlight works and does what you want it to do, I always keep my models at arm's length and then check if I can clearly see the highlight. So I'm not happy. I think the highlight is a bit too dark, so I'm going to add a bit more white. I'm going for a 1 part scrofulous over 2 parts white mixture, so I'll add 4 parts white now. Added a bit of the glaze medium as well because in the meantime, I added quite some paint to the mixture. This looks a lot better. So now I'll reapply the highlight. Yeah, I'll zoom the camera a bit out because I constantly am going out of frame. Um, so it's better to see something actually than nothing at all. Now I'll start edge highlighting the right leg. I'm gonna start near the joint here. The easiest way to apply an edge highlight is like what I did just here. Is use the edge of your brush. Um, Painting with the tip, an edge highlight with a tip is quite hard. If you have a little bit of shaky hands, you will be able to see it quite quickly. In some areas, however, it's about impossible to paint with the side of the brush. For example, right underneath underneath the knee pad here, you're not going to be able to do it with the side of your brush, so you're going to have to do it with the tip of your brush. And don't worry too much if you make the line a bit thicker here and there. As For gaming models, as a rule of thumb, I always use. If the model looks good at arm's length, it's okay. Then it will look good on the table, and if that's what you're aiming for. Let's face it, I'm not gonna win a golden demon with this, so um, that's actually the goal for this miniature. To just look okay on the table and have a nice paint job on it. I'm not going to be too fussed with the lower edge here as well, because when I'm going to paint in the base, I'll most likely do it by airbrush. So that's going to be overspray on there anyway, so I can go all out of my way to paint an edge highlight all around. I'm just not going to do that. I'll cover it up later. It's um, it's actually a good idea when you start painting a model to make a plan in what color you're going to apply at what moment, because in certain circumstances it can save you quite some time. Um, I quite often find myself washing a bit. For example, on the bolt gun, I paint in the metallics, Then I wash it with non-oil to find myself, paint it gray, and wash it again with non-oil. So I'm gradually learning that I shouldn't be doing that. I should just paint in the gray, paint in the metallics, or the other way around, and then wash it all at once. And while I'm at it, I notice I missed the part with the gray, so I'm going to do that straight away. Now I'll continue the highlighting of the yellow. So with that done, I'm now going to continue on the other leg. Make sure on these recesses here that you do them the same on both legs. So I painted the upside of the lower one on the right leg, so I'll make sure I paint the upside of the left one as well. What I mean by that is don't do the upside of the bottom one here and do the bottom side of the upper one on the other leg. It will look a bit strange. As you can see on the other leg, I don't highlight all the way in there. There's no need for that. First of all, you're hardly going to see it. Second of all, there won't be that much light there. because his left foot is higher up in the air than the right foot due to his position. I bumped into to my desk. I'm going to apply an edge highlight here, whereas I didn't do it on the other leg, but that has to do with the position of his foot, and the basing probably going to miss that. So next I'm going to highlight the torso, which should be fairly quick. You can see that many that many edges, so I'll mainly focus on the ring here around his head. There's a little edge back there. On his back, I'm not gonna apply any edge highlights. When it's on the table, you look at it like this, and you can't see it. So there, for a tabletop miniature, there's absolutely no need to do that. At least I have not ever seen somebody going by somebody else's army like this. So I don't think if somebody would do that, I would start worrying and maybe even get a bit angry on the fifth model. I missed a bit of gray again. So I'll start on the torso. So I painted both the outside and the inside, and right here at the bottom, where quite a lot of light would gather, I just painted in a little spot here. I painted in a little spot of the highlight color. When I move to the back of the model, I'm only going to do the outside, and right behind the head, I'm not gonna highlight it at all. So next up are the arms, because the backpack is so much to the outside of the model. For edge highlighting, you really are holding the model a lot and touching it a lot. It's better to first do the hands and the arms, and then the backpack. Since I'm going to apply transfers to the shoulder pads, I'm not gonna bother highlighting the shoulder pads. The effect it will grant will be absolutely minimal, especially because I'm going to paint the trims on the shoulder pad in a red color, and I'll highlight those. So there's no use to put a thin highlight right in here. I'm going to start with the shoulder here. I'm gonna, again with the side of my brush, via thin line, I'll turn the model and do the same on the back. I think you couldn't see that. So I'll zoom in the camera, make sure I'm in the frame. So as you can see, I already highlighted the back and the side. So I'm checking the camera. I'll apply a thin highlight here as well. I'm not going all the way back there. There's absolutely no use for that. Or no need for that. And a thin line in the middle. I really shouldn't be moving my hand. So now let's move on to the other arm. So now I'm going to just check and see, like I said before, an arm's length, how it looks. I think it looks okay. So I'll go ahead now and highlight the head and then the backpack and get over this edge highlighting part because this is taking a bit too long, I'm afraid. So I'm going to start off with the face mask here. Yes, I'm on the frame. And we get to the eyes. And I always just go just underneath the eyes. And now the backpack. So that's the edge highlighting. I'm sorry, it just takes a bit of time, and do understand if it's quite boring to watch. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use dark flesh tone from Vallejo Game Color, and I'm going to block in the parts that are going to be red. I'll zoom the camera a bit out. So the parts that are going to be red will be the chest eagle and both the trims on the shoulder pads. I notice I spilled some paint here during edge highlighting. It's still wet. So with a wet brush, with just a bit of water, I thin it down, and then I'll dry the brush on a paper towel. And I'll gradually just flick it off. So I'll start with the chest eagle. That's easier, or easier. It's harder to reach. I'll zoom in again. But if I start with trims of the shoulder pads, whilst I'm going to try and get in there to paint the chest eagle, there's a big chance I'll hit the shoulder pads with my fingers and I'll smear the entire model under the dark flesh tone, and that's not what I want, obviously. I think this is going to be hard to see. I'm sitting at a different angle than the camera is standing. So I hope you can see this, guys. whilst applying this color, this is going to function as a shade for the red. So I make quite sure I have the insides of the trims painted as well. And wherever I can reach it, I'll paint the inside of the trim as well. Especially next to the yellow. Now I'm not gonna try all out to get all the way in there and then maybe ruin the yellow. It will be pretty hard to fix. In case you've managed to watch this far, I would really love to know what you would like to see in the next series. This model will probably be finished in the next episode for this one, so I can start thinking about another model. Would you like a bigger model, for example, a rhino or a tank, or would you like a dreadnought or a monster? Just whatever. Let me know so I can start making arrangements for that. I think once this layer is done, I'll apply a wash with Nuln Oil to the metallic and the gray parts, and that will leave us with only basically the yellow's done. So next week, most likely, I'll be finishing up the red metallics, the gray, the browns. That's not going to be that hard. Should be done pretty quickly. Paint in the eyes, and then probably the week after that, the base, the skull, and my big fat thumb in the way. There's a skull lying here. I'll paint that one. Apply the transfers and do the basing. Finish the model off because it's just notice this. I'm going to do this one in red as well. It will get washed with the Nuln Oil in a second, but that's okay. Well, then we get as promised, the Nuln Oil. And just now see I miss Missed a little bit of metal on one of the legs. And that's done. So with the non-oil, I'm going to wash all the metallic and the gray parts now. You can now clearly see what I meant with planning ahead. I can now easily wash both parts at once. And also for this video, I probably would have watched it earlier if I wasn't recording this. But it's just easier. Did I forget? Oh, I forgot to edge highlight the whole upper leg. I'll do that after recording. That's really smart of me. It also immediately shows the good use of the glaze medium, because the paint's still usable. Whereas if I wouldn't have done that, it would have been it would have dried out already. So guys, I'm going to leave it at that for this week. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked this video. Please let me know what I can improve. Next week we'll, like I said, we'll continue and try and finish off this model. I think we'll get a long way. Thanks for watching and see you next time.